Okay, thank you everybody for attending this afternoon. Welcome with another joint venture of the Middle Eastern Law Students Association and the Jewish Law Students Association here at the University of Wayne State. Today's event is going to be a conversation on Israel and the Arab media, and we have some distinguished guests that we will introduce shortly. I'd like to make an announcement ahead of time that 3 student organizations will be having museum tours this month with the Black Law Student Association, the Jewish Law Student Association, and the Middle Eastern Law Student Associations, and we have flyers outside if you guys are interested. And just a disclaimer ahead of time, this topic of discussion today can get a little touchy at times, and emotions do run high in this conversation, so we do ask that everybody be respectful. And if somebody makes a comment that kind of hits close to the heart, let's just be civil. And we are in a university setting, so we'd like to welcome everybody to have engaged discussion, and maybe we'll pull something new out of this conversation today. So thank you all for attending, and I'll introduce Elliot.
Thanks, Amir. I'd like to just reiterate the sentence that Amir said, just to try to keep it civil. The purpose of this event that we're running today is, obviously, as Amir says, has the potential to be an incendiary topic. But it seems interesting when you view Israel, and basically it's a country the size of New Jersey, and there are no natural resources to speak of, as well as if you look in the grand scheme of things, you see what's going on in Darfur, hundreds of thousands of people, 300,000 people killed there. There's drug wars in Mexico, people being killed there, and there's violence all over the world on a much grander scale than over there. But yet, there is perhaps a disproportionate coverage, some may argue, in the media. Some tasteful, some not as tasteful. We're here to just explore if that's the case, and perhaps why that is the case. To help facilitate this discussion, we have asked that Mr. Nolan Finley has graciously agreed to join us. Mr. Finley is the editorial page editor for the Detroit News. He's been in that capacity since 2000. He's been affiliated with the Detroit News in various capacities since 1976, and most importantly, he is a Wayne State alum. Without further ado, Mr. Nolan Finley, thank you.
Thank you, Eric, and thank you all for coming out today. We certainly have an extremely interesting and timely subject to delve into today. The events in Egypt bring this issue and the question of Israel's role in the Middle East to the fore once more, as it always does when there are events unfolding in the Middle East. And we are very fortunate to have with us today 2 very distinguished speakers on the subject. Dr. Mordechai Kedar is a lecturer in the Department of Arabic and a research associate at the Begin-Sadat Center for Strategic Studies at Bar-Ilan University in Tel Aviv. Dr. Kedar also does research in partnership with the Institute for Counterterrorism at the Interdisciplinary Center and the Jerusalem Institute for Israel Studies. Dr. Kedar served in the IDF Military Intelligence Unit for 25 years. Joining him is Metro Detroit's own Osama Siblani, who was born in Beirut, but came to the United States in 1976 to pursue his education. He completed a BSS in electrical engineering at the University of Detroit and went to work with a major import-export firm dealing with the Middle East. Since 1984, he has been the publisher of the Arab American News, which has quickly become one of the most influential Arab American voices in the country. Gentlemen, we'd like for you to start today, if you will, by taking a few minutes each to offer your views on the subject we're going to be delving into today. Is today. And Dr. Kedar, we'd like to start with you. Yeah.
Well, whoever watches the Arab media, and today Arab media is mostly Al Jazeera, cannot escape the impression that this channel, which comes out from Qatar, is actually obsessed about Israel. Some research come out with some 60% of its time is dedicated to Israel, and all the other 40% is the whole world, especially the Arab world. Qatar is never mentioned in the host of Al Jazeera, never is mentioned there. Nobody sees in Al Jazeera the wealth of Qatar, because this is what they want to hide. They want to divert the looks of the Arab nation, which is impoverished, which is sick, which is unemployed, which is marginalized and oppressed against Israel, as if Israel and the United States of America are those who to be blamed for the all illnesses of the Arab world, while those fat cats who live in the Gulf, who live on zillions, are to be hidden from the media. This is the goal of Al Jazeera, and therefore Israel is vilified day and night with absolutely no reason and no credibility. They have no commitment to truth vis-à-vis Israel, and there is much evidence of this. And they would have to invent Israel if there was no Israel, in order to vilify and to divert the looks of the Arab world from the wealth of the Gulf.
Thank you, Dr. Kedar. Mr. Siblani?
Well, thank you very much first for this panel. It's really my pleasure to be included, and I'd like to thank the Students Association, whether the Middle Eastern or and the Jewish law students, and also the university for taking this task and holding this panel. This is a very interesting subject, and we live in a very interesting time. And I know Dr. Kedar, thank you for coming and joining us today. And I did not serve in any army. I came here as a young Arab American from Lebanon back in 1976 to seek education from a war-torn country, and I've been here since then. Yes, I fly back and forth. In 1984, I started the newspaper. So my experience in life is 34 years here, and the rest of my life, which I'm not going to tell you, in Lebanon.
Could you make the mic a little closer, please?
Thank you for mentioning that.
Thank you.
Both of you.
Okay. Better this way?
Yes.
All right. Now, like I said, this is a very interesting subject that comes today as we witness some people call it revolution or uprising in Egypt, or before it also in Tunisia. You know, Dr. Kedar talked about particularly Al Jazeera. First of all, I just want you to know that there is probably more than 700 international channels that broadcast in Arabic. Not only Al Jazeera, there is Al Jazeera is probably the most influential and the most watched channel, but there are other channels broadcast in Arabic, probably about 700 on the international scene. I can tell you only in Lebanon, we have about probably 8 or 9 of them major ones that broadcast all over the world. Talk about Al Jazeera not focusing on Qatar. I don't know if you know the state of Qatar. It's a very small country. I've been to Qatar. I don't know if Dr. Kedar has been in Qatar. Have you been to Qatar?
Not yet.
It's a very small Gulf state that has probably less than 400,000 in its population. And there is nothing really to report in Qatar. And yes, Al Jazeera focuses on Israel, true. But what Dr. Kedar said that is not true is that Al Jazeera has made